Welcome back, guys, to first of all, welcome back to the Kempire Daily YouTube channel where you get daily and consistent hot topics in music, entertainment, reality TV, and so much more. As always, this is our weekly collaboration where we recap the latest episode of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And of course, I had to bring my special guest along with me, up in Adam and down with Jason. What's going on, guys?
Hey, how's it going?
Oh,
now it's hey.
Oh, hi.
Just kidding.
First off, guys, welcome back for this weekly collaboration that we do talking about Salt Lake City. I want to know, first off, before we get into the episode, how are you feeling about the season so far? I know this is episode 5?
Yeah, I'll let Jason go first.
I like it. I didn't even say thank you or anything. Yeah, thanks, Adam. I'm enjoying it. I find it different to the other franchises, and I feel like we're over that hump of the rookie season now. I kind of know everyone. I just really like it, and it's not even Jen Shah's arrest that I'm necessarily caring about right now. I can't wait for that to happen. Don't get me wrong, but I really like to see the other ladies, kind of come in and have their own little issues. But I find it more lighthearted than some of the other franchises. I like watching Heather with her daughter. I like some of the ladies getting together. It adds some of that opulence we're missing in some other places.
Okay, so I have to kind of disagree here, and I get where they're trying to, I think, give all of the other women their moments before we get into the Jen Shah legal drama, because that is going to take over the show, right? But the Erica Girardi, the Girardi scandal, we got that on episode 3 or 4, and it really brought us into the season, right? And then we knew that was the main central storyline of this whole season. So I'm ready to get to that point, especially because the trailer was so explosive and we see that that's obviously going to take over the season. So in my head, I'm trying to understand, one, why are we not there yet? But then I'm trying to play devil's advocate and be like, well, maybe we needed to address all of the Brooks drama and the Lisa Barlow Whitney stuff because this is going to overtake the whole rest of the season. So I'm trying to be patient, just like I am with Mary Cosby.
But we're going to talk about Mary Cosby. But I think we also have to think about the timeline. The whole situation. When did we get the news about Erica Girardi and her legal troubles while they were filming versus when did Jen Shah get arrested during filming? She got arrested towards like the end of filming, right? From what I can recall.
I believe so.
I thought it was mid-season when they were filming. I thought the cast trip happened pretty early on. But again, I don't know, because we always hear different rumors about when filming actually starts. And then we start really getting that confirmed when we start seeing photos surface of the cast members filming. Just like Beverly Hills already started filming season 12 for Portia's bat mitzvah. And they weren't supposed to start filming until the end of October. So we really don't know until we see the photos of the cameras being around kind of surface. It's weird. The timelines are always strange to me.
And I feel like we're seeing it more and more than we ever before. We're really getting a behind the scenes look before they actually give us the behind the scenes.
And I love the Shady Bravo editing too, where they have, obviously this was like the first episode, but Jen Shah being like, I've never been to jail, but I'll go to jail for you. And some of the things that are said, I'm like, ooh, that didn't age well. Let's get to the Jen Shah legal drama, please.
But you know what?
Really?
They sorry, that out too. They could have left that part out. They intentionally left that in.
Mm-hmm.
What were you gonna say, Jason?
I was just gonna say the only thing I'm so sick of seeing all of Jen Shah's assistants. First assistant, guilty. Second assistant, it's like, who do you think you are? And not even Lisa Vanderpump has assistants.
That's true.
Gosh.
That's true. She does not have assistants. That's fair. That is true. She does not have anybody except Ken Todd. And isn't her name Rosa? Is it Rosa who's at her house?
Rosia, but she does everything for her.
Yeah.
She's
like the housekeeper. Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Technically, she's the housekeeper, but she probably does a lot more than that.
Well, she kind of does, because she shows up to Sir and she shows up to Pump and she does the flowers for Lisa, but then she goes home and does the flowers there. The whole place is like made of glass and mirrors. So then she does the glass. She has so much to clean. There's ponies to be attended to. Like, there's a lot of shit that Rosia has to do.
She better be paying Rosia very well. I didn't realize
I'm sure she is.
Wow.
I think Rosia drives a nicer car than all of us, and she's living better than probably most of us.
This is true. She did get a nice car.
Oh well, we have to live talking about those.
Yeah, that's a whole other.
Guys, if you're just joining us, of course, this is our weekly collaboration where we recap the latest episode of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Last night's episodes opened up where we got to see some of the couples interacting with each other. And one part of the episode that stood out to me was Coordinator Shah shoveling. And he seemed a little angry when she came out. Did you notice that, Jason? What was the vibe that you got from Jen Shah and Coordinator Shah's interaction?
Coordinator Shah.
That Coordinator Shah needs some help shoveling, A. But B, I was very confused because all of my cousins in Utah have snow machines that do that. You just walk, it's like a lawnmower. And I'm like, why are you shoveling for 5 hours? You have that big house and you didn't get a snowblower?
Well, maybe he's just spending so much money on rent for the big house that they couldn't afford the snowblower.
Or so much money on legal fees now.
Okay. Well, that too. But I love when Shah's like, I think that she's like, we pay somebody to do this. Why are you doing this? And he's like, we don't pay anybody to do this. I am the person who does this. I'm like, you should.
Do you think she was just trying to give off a certain persona for the cameras? And he was like, no, that's not what it is.
Yes. 100%.
So if Jen has all these assistants, where are Coordinator Shah's assistant coordinators? That can help him shovel the snow.
Why isn't Stuart Smith out there? Yeah.
Stuart Smith. Because Stuart Smith is busy doing other things for Jen Shah.
Oh, well, that's true. Allegedly.
That particular scene stood out to me. I mean, nothing really happened in that scene, but he did seem a little angry. And I said to myself, oh, he hates her as much as everyone else does. Just like,
oh my gosh.
I did kind of get that energy though.
It did have that energy.
I got that energy for sure.
Okay, as long as I wasn't the only one. Speaking of hating each other, Lisa and Whitney, their fight is still brewing on social media. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not that interested in the whole Angie Harrington and did Lisa actually tell them not to do her party? At first, last week I was interested. Now with everyone bringing their receipts on social media, I looked at the receipts and I said to myself, I really don't care. Jason, Jason, do you care about this fight between Lisa and Whitney and Angie?
I don't really care about the fight between Lisa and Angie necessarily, with the whole, debacle of the catering situation. What I'm more into now is more kind of like the Lisa and Whitney thing. Because Lisa's like, we are friends, as she ignores her at Angie's party, as she, kind of ignores everyone. Remember her whole thing with Heather Gay last year, how she didn't really know her. It's these, I think it's the hypocrisy of Lisa Barlow, which I like to call Kyle 2.0, because they're so wishy-washy and everything. And they kind of just they don't really pick a lane. They kind of change lanes when it's convenient for them. But yeah. I'm more interested to see how that goes, because I don't think they're going to sit here and become friends, Lisa and Whitney. And I'd like to see more altercation, in the group than just the Jen Shah stuff.
And we're gonna break down their gin and mend conversation that happened at the end of the episode. But Lisa and her husband talk about their conversation. Apparently, I think Bravo has taken the note, especially what we've gotten from the Real Housewives of New Jersey, that the husbands are an important part of the show if it makes sense. First of all, when Lisa was having her conversation with her husband, he was the first one to say, why don't you sit down with Whitney and have a conversation? And when the producers asked him about, why he thinks that would work or if it would work, he says, he really likes Justin. He wants to be able to hang out with Justin. Do you think the husbands could have, like, for your case, in a relationship, could you guys have friends that maybe Jason didn't like?
We've been down this road numerous times. I've actually lost a few friends out of my life because they had just, they jumped the gun on certain things that they would say or assumptions that they had. For example, I was really good friends with Sheena. Sheena does not like Jason. Okay. Jason doesn't love Sheena, but
no loss.
Yeah. And they both feel the exact same way about each other, but that kind of put a damper on the friendship because, when you have somebody who doesn't really agree with or like the person that you're with, and they can't give you actual reasons why, instead of, aside from surface level BS, then you're in your mind like, well, this person could be very toxic to my relationship. So which one is more important to me, my friendship or my relationship? And 9 times out of 10, you're going to pick your relationship. And I I don't know.
Can you imagine if we picked one of Sheena's relationships?
Okay.
You
This
know?
is not the time for you to throw daggers. This is not the time.
We need to do a separate live where we sort of dig into the Lisa Vanderpump of things, the Vanderpump rules of things, because there's some drama there that I want to unpack. But
yeah,
we won't digress any further into that, but that's juicy. One of the things I have to agree with Lisa in this conversation about her beef with Angie and Whitney is that she said something to her husband that, you know, she doesn't like the fact that Whitney is interfering in a 24-year friendship. And I kind of was like, yeah, they do have a long history. And that's why last week I was a little sad that this drama even happened, because they go way back. How did you feel about that, Adam?
Wait, let Jason take this one away first. I'm kind of like, I'm curious.
I don't think Whitney's interfering, because didn't Angie invite Whitney out? Or was it for lunch? So I don't really think she's interfering. I think she's, you know, it's like Mormon Christmas. I have a new cousin, so she's just trying to get to know her, you know. So I don't think there's that. But you know, sometimes in a very long friendship, you can get used to ignoring things and maybe not seeing things more clearly. So maybe it is refreshing for Angie to have Whitney's take on Lisa a little bit.
But I also think in a long, you know, friendship, sometimes you can be jaded and you get so used to somebody's actions and their behaviors that you kind of just push them off to the side and you try to figure out, you know, like, okay, well, I've seen this really great version of them, so I'm going to ignore these, you know, bad things, whatever. But in this situation, I don't think Lisa Barlow or Whitney, I don't think either one of them were wrong. I think Angie Harrington is wrong now that the receipts have come out, because I'm looking at this like, Lisa introduced you the first season. You didn't make it. The original production company, they liked you. You were going to be a friend of the show. The second production company, they cut you. Now they brought you back for season 2. You're a friend of. And immediately when you come into filming, you've obviously done your homework. You've watched the show. You watched the show with your friends on it. And knowing that you had a scene, I'm sure she's very familiar with what it takes to be a housewife. So she comes in and bites the first hand that fed her, the one that introduced her to everyone. She's like, oh, well, I don't know the rest of these women, so I'm going to go straight for Lisa Barlow. And I really think that that's kind of garbage, because there's so many other targets you can go in on at this point. You can go in on Mary Cosby if you want to attack that level of crazy. Whitney, she's your cousin, sure, but there's stuff about her too. Heather Gay, there's not much to go in on. Meredith Marks, I'd leave her alone. And Jen Shah, if you really want to make your mark on the season, go in after her, because she will fight back. But Lisa Barlow, I don't understand it. I think Angie Harrington played dirty here.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I mean, you might have a point, but according to Angie in the comments section, she's saying the receipts that the restaurant dropped and what Lisa has been saying is not the full story. And that's when I checked out. I was just like, okay, so now you have a piece of the puzzle that we're missing. You guys are not that interesting.
Well, they're trying to be. They're trying to be.
I was interested in Angie, though. I feel like Angie, especially when we look at people like Escala that is a friend of, and you're just sort of like, okay, she's nice, she's pretty, she's bringing fashion. But Angie really brought like a moment last week that made us sort of like, oh, okay. And maybe she knew that. Maybe she knew she had to bring a moment because she was sort of like written out of, you know, season 1. Maybe.
Well, yeah. And I think that's exactly what happened. She knew she needed a moment, and she picked the person that she knew the most in order to have that moment with. And I think that's why Lisa Barlow looks so blindsided. Now, mind you, do I think Lisa Barlow is the most innocent person? No, but I like to kind of identify and isolate who the actual problem is. And here, it so clearly was not Lisa Barlow. We found out other things too about the event. I mean, receipts have come out. Sure, they're half ASS receipts. I get that. But it all points right back at Angie. And it really kind of shows that Lisa Barlow is not the villain in this story. Angie Harrington, I was here for, but she really has to redeem herself. And for Whitney in this relationship with Lisa Barlow, Whitney's not wrong either. The way that Lisa Barlow treats her when they go out somewhere, when she tries to greet her, Lisa Barlow is very dismissive. She's in her own world. She's nice to everybody else except for Whitney. And when they had that conversation, she was so clearly deflecting and kind of being like, what? I made you feel like that? No way.
She always does that though. And that's what I thought about Lisa when Angie had a conversation with Lisa. What Lisa couldn't answer the question. She just gets up, cries, yells, makes a scene, which is very reminiscent of Jen Shah to me. And that just screams guilty. So I just thought, oh shit, maybe she did have something to do with the catering thing.
And we have to remember the caterers and the restaurant are friends of Lisa. So whatever they're going to put out there is, of course, going to be in defense of Lisa. I was on the fence about Lisa the first season. I wanted to like her, but this season I'm really checked out when it comes to Lisa. And I love the fact that you said she lives in her own world, Adam, because I was like, in that world, does Vita Tequila exist?
No.
Okay, you guys are so shady.
Just in her kitchen.
Okay.
That's it. And maybe like at one store in Woodland Hills outside of Los Angeles. And then everywhere else you check, by the way, I've checked all like Total Wines. Like I'll put in like random zip codes now. So you can find it in Maine at one restaurant. And then anywhere in Jersey, there's like 3 bottles. Like that's all they ordered. And they just sit there. So it's a good idea to, if you ever want to try it, to really do your research because you're going to have to.
I'm wondering. There is a I guess a wine store that's down the street from me. I wonder if they would have tequila. I really should just go.
But not there at home, right? At home or where you are now, because that shit is not international.
No, here. Imagine I found it though. Imagine I found the Vita Tequila here.
I'd be eating my own words right now.
Yeah, I was about to say you would be eating some serious crow because you have talked a lot of ish on Vita Tequila. And you haven't even tried it.
I want to try it, but I'm not allowed to apparently, unless I go to her event in Park City.
Look, the more that we talk about it, the more we're going to put pressure on Lisa to send you a Vita Tequila.
I have tried.
When she does, we will celebrate.
Well, I did ask her about it, and she said, "I think you can find it in Total Wine." So she gave me and we've talked. Yes, I think, and we've talked about this, and I don't know. I just told her I couldn't find it. Like, is there somewhere that you can direct me to go find it? I would love to try it and do a review on my channel about it. And I just kind of went that route when asking her about it. And she said, I don't know if it offended her, but she was just like, I think you can find it in Total Wine or something. But we've even talked about this. Ask Bethany Frankel, ask Lisa Vanderpump, ask some of these other celebrity or Bravo celebrities who have different products where you can find their products. Ask Crystal Kung Minkoff where you can find real cocoa. Because she can let you know every single store that you can find it in. And it just doesn't look good on Lisa Barlow to not have that knowledge. I don't know. Are you not the one who's responsible for outsourcing this? Like, what is the reason, but it's not good. It's like me asking you, Kempire, what shows are you going to cover this week on YouTube? Well, I don't know. Okay, so you don't know your platform for business?
Where can I listen to your podcast?
Yeah.
Is it available where other podcasts are, or do I have to really research it?
I don't know.
Very good point. Very good point. By sidebar, I did get a chance to watch your interview with Crystal, and I have to say it was a very good interview, and I really enjoyed her. She won me over. She won Jason over. And I've been saying this since day one about Crystal. And I know we're kind of like digressing a little bit and we do this, we'll jump around, but, and of course we'll still talk about Salt Lake City, but for Crystal, I tried to stress the fact that this is her freshman season. Not everyone loves Sutton her freshman season. And then her sophomore season, she kind of came in more comfortable and with a bang. And for Crystal, she made us know, listen, I have body issues that I have to deal with. My dad had Alzheimer's. I discussed his mental health. I don't like being in a bathing suit. I got vulnerable for you guys, and I wasn't comfortable with cameras around until the end of the season, and then I started to open up a little bit. So next season, she's really looking forward to being more comfortable in this situation because she said when she walked in, she had seen a little bit of Housewives, and she thought that they were all kind of like celebrities, and she didn't fit into that, which is kind of funny. But, I mean, I would not walk in and see Lisa Rinna and be like, oh my gosh, that's Lisa Rinna. Oh, that's Lisa Jason. That is Lisa Rinna. I would be like, oh, it's Rinna. There goes the soap opera actress, but whatever.
Yeah, there goes the Depends commercial woman.
Although Heather Gay is in the center holding the snowflake this season, she is a star for us. I know that. I know you all can agree with me when it comes to that. This episode, not so much. We didn't get a lot from Heather Gay. We got her skiing. Love seeing the sporty side of Heather Gay and Meredith because this is a different city. I love that we're getting some authenticity to the city, and we're getting to see the skiing. And I love when Heather talks a little bit more about what she wants for her daughters. Her daughter, congratulations to her daughter. She got into the University of Santa Barbara. That's big. And I like seeing those moments with Heather.
Yeah, I said, which is so hard. I mean, I was telling Jason, well, I won't repeat this, but it's just really hard, especially when you're out of state trying to apply to an out-of-state university, and it's still a prestigious university. And to get into it, I mean, seriously, congratulations to her. But Heather throws me off a little bit because she's sharing moments in conversations with her daughter that a lot of fans would perceive to be like when she's saying, I don't want my daughter to marry someone and that be her first intimate experience. I want her to go to college and be a good time girl and be like, woo! And it's like, okay, well, have that conversation with your daughter, but don't let everybody else kind of look at her like when she shows up to campus, like, oh, she's going to be like that doesn't paint her in the most favorable light. And I'm wondering what her dad, who is total, like he's still immersed into the Mormon culture, what is he thinking?
Yeah. Well, you know what it is. Heather knows how much it affected her growing up and how she still is dealing with the psychological effects of growing up Mormon. And she doesn't want that for her daughters. But our Mormon expert is here. What are your thoughts, Jason?
I really like that moment. Okay, first of all, when you saw Heather Gay playing the piano, I feel like it is like a basic Mormon attribute to learn basics on a piano. Like I can go behind a piano and I know basic stuff because that's just, you had to learn that growing up. So I thought that was like, for me, I was like, oh yeah, you're playing the piano. Of course you are. But I love her interaction with her daughter. I don't know if her daughter is her own person too. And I'm glad Heather has raised her the way she has, but I don't think she needs to feel like she needs to go to school and like explore and dive in and jump in. I think she will on her own and do her own different things. But UCSB, that is a great school. That is a school I wanted to go to as well. I chose the circus. But yeah, I really like these moments with Heather Gay. I kind of like even when her and Meredith were sitting down together after skiing. I like these like kind of quiet moments too. It allows us to get to know the ladies a little bit. Some could call it boring too, but I really enjoyed it.
I think it's the calm before the storm.
Oh, what storm?
Shah arrested.
Oh. Oh, okay, that's storm. But I thought maybe a storm coming up with Heather. But you're right. We need that balance, I think, for the show, especially for what's to come. So I'm excited for that. And you know what? Who else is bringing balance? And Jason will agree with me with this one. Mary Cosby. This episode had me cracking.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
every time.
Oh my gosh. Okay, she goes to Whitney Rose's home. And she brings cookies. We saw her making the cookies. Didn't know she was bringing them to Whitney's home. I wonder if the cookies were any good. Here he goes. So dramatic over there, Adam. Okay, Mary Cosby. As soon as she walks in, and this is the moment that she tells them about someone in her church that it had an accident, falls 30 feet. And then she said, the children asked, did the person die? She says yes, but then she's like, I'm here to have fun. And this is the kid's face.
Oh my God.
No one can tell a story like Mary Cosby.
I would honestly, this would piss me off if I'm watching this from like the thinking about her congregation. This was a child of one of the members of your congregation, and you are talking about it so just like nonchalantly. Mind you, this is still a life. Okay. This person was ejected from the sunroof, and I'm not trying to get like dark in the mood about this, but ejected from the sunroof because she didn't have her seatbelt on. I had a friend in high school, and her mom picked her up drunk, and she was driving, and she ran a red light, and another car hit her. The mom had an old car and didn't have a seatbelt, and my friend got ejected through the back windshield, and it cut her body in half, and she died right on the spot. And it's just like, this is a terrible, terrible situation. We don't know, was she driving? Was she not? But at the end of the day, this is somebody's daughter or son, or it's still a family member, and you should have a little bit more sympathy. And if you don't, when you talk about it on camera and you know that it's going to be on a national, international platform, I think you should have a little bit more respect for the family and not just be like, and that's why it's important to wear your seatbelt. It's like,
but do you think Mary is one of those people that just gets very awkward when talking about something very serious? Where some people have that awkward laugh when they're talking about something serious or very sad. I kind of got that feeling from Mary that she doesn't know social cues like that. We saw that on Watch What Happens Live. Did you guys see her on that?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I
She's
love that
always-
question when Andy asked her which housewife, on your franchise has the worst fashion sense. And she said, which one or how many? And I was like, oh my God.
She is shady as hell. I mean, I don't know. It could be an awkward thing, but Mary Cosby we've seen is just sort of an awkward, interesting person anyways, like quirky in her own right. And listen, you would have to be. When you marry your grandfather, you have to have something that's like going on behind the scenes, okay? Because I don't really know anybody. I could go on right now and do a poll or ask something in my community tab for over 80,000 people and be like, which one of you guys know somebody who married their family member? And I bet you not one person is going to answer it. That is quirky as hell. Do you?
I know someone that did.
I feel like you're challenging me here.
Can you imagine her telling a story at church to her congregation that is just like, I imagine there's a lot of moments like we just saw from Whitney's Kids where the congregation, it's just kind of like making those faces while, Pastor Mary's up there, wherever she is, Bishop Mary, Pastor, whatever she is up there, giving her speech, her stories, her way of doing things. Let me tell you how to pray.
But even somebody just said, Zoe said, how can you lack social cues and be a pastor? I mean,
fair enough.
Mary Cosby?
I mean,
well, apparently she's not at her church very often anyway. So maybe
but
she's
also,
just
I feel like even those moments that we've gotten with her in the church, I feel like she's lacked social cues with how she interacts with them.
I mean, we've heard the audios.
Well, that's not lacking social cues. That's just being nasty.
I mean, the audio is like she shows up once in a blue moon. She's like every 3 months, like, okay, the mortgage on these 6 homes, they got to get paid. I have stuff to pay. I need a new Chanel bag. So she shows up with the till and she's like, you're cheap as hell. You didn't give me any money for my birthday. I don't know. You need to come off your mortgage. Okay. You need to sign that over right now. You're not leaving before you do. And what are you paying for right now? Because I haven't seen a damn thing from you. Like that is Mary Cosby going into her church. And then she takes 3 months off. She lets somebody else run the church. She goes on a podcast, acts like she's involved. And then 3 months later, she's like, time out.
Well, look, there's more to come when it comes to Mary and her church and the cult accusations. I look forward to having those conversations. But so far, what we've gotten from Mary, these moments have been very funny for me. Very funny. And then the kids' reaction, because kids don't know cameras. Kids don't know reality TV. Kids just are their authentic selves. And this was them in this moment. I said, you know what? I love it.
Yeah. I always love seeing the kids' reaction. Like you said, there are organic reactions. They're obviously not putting it on and trying to give you a moment and be like, wait, you said what? They're just like, they're
like, what did she just say? What did that crazy lady just say?
Yeah.
For me, I think Mary is going to be season 3.5 or 4.
What do you mean?
Because how long is Jen Shah the Jen Shah thing gonna run? Because I know aren't they starting to film in order to catch most of that?
Well, no, they
a little bit early, or
they were supposed to start filming in October. Now they're pushing it off because her court date got pushed off. So if I had to guess, and this is all just assumption right here, we can all guess, but I would think that they would probably start filming in February because her court date is in March and they only filmed for 3.5 months. So I'm guessing it would be February, March, April. And then they would have pickup shots of whatever the verdict is.
So and then we need another scandal. If you go by Bravo, algorithm, now it's time for the next scandal. Our next scandal is sitting right in front of us.
Oh, Lord.
Yes, it is, because more family members are going to continue to come out.
Lord. Guys, if you're just joining us, this is our weekly recap of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And of course, I'm joined by Up and Adam and Down with Jason. Be sure to subscribe to their channels because I think next week we are on Adam's channel, right? Or no, we're on Jason's channel next week.
Yeah.
I think. Look,
try to keep up with us, guys.
Either way, if you subscribe and you have your notification bell on, you're not going to miss out whenever any of us go live. So be sure to do that. More information is available on Adam and Jason in the description of this video. Guys, we have to talk about the biggest Housewives showdown conversation ever happened on this show.
Okay.
And it was between these two.
Are we done with it? I hope. Is this going to be the end?
Please.
Okay, first of all, she apologized. Jen Shah apologizes to Brooks Marks. Meredith does join them, but Brooks says to her, can we just have this conversation alone? Which I thought was interesting. He didn't need his mommy's hand, to hold his hand during this conversation, especially with someone that's so volatile like Jen Shah. I'll start with Adam. What was your reaction to this conversation? And do you think that it's over?
I'm hopeful that it's over, but I have to applaud Brooks in this situation because I don't think it would be easy to go up and put yourself in this filming situation. He's still very obviously uncomfortable with the topic because he feels like Jen kind of ran with this narrative, assuming, his sexuality and who he is, who he likes, how he like all of this. So I think, one, this is an uncomfortable situation already. And two, you're dealing with a person who has the ability to pop off any second. And the fact that he asked his mom to give them a minute and he just told Jen, I really can't articulate enough. I can't find the words to tell you how this made me feel. But then Jen Shah and Lisa Barlow, they're friends for an obvious reason. They both are like the deflection queens. My team runs my Twitter account. And I love when he looks at her in the face and he's like, well, from where I'm standing, it looked like you were the one responsible for this. And I was like, he's not wrong. Yeah. He's not wrong, Jen Shah. And she starts crying. She gives you the crocodile tears. And I'm sure, honestly, when she breaks it down, or when it's broke down in her mind, if you start, like when Meredith was like, what if I did that to your kids? I think when you digest it, you were probably having fun on Twitter. You thought it was a cute back and forth. You think this is what you're supposed to do as a new housewife. And you didn't realize the ramifications it might have on another person. Mind you, Brooks is not innocent either. He goes off and he puts himself in these filming situations. He's had confessionals. So you're kind of part of the show in some regard. Do I think it's right? No. But I think that she really digested what she did in her actions. And she's like, this is a real person, and I shouldn't have done that.
Jason, how do you feel?
I felt like, we had all this workup, but we had all of this. This was such a big deal, for a very quick resolution, for a very quick apology that we could have done this in the first place weeks ago. But it was fine. This topic is kind of, becoming redundant for me. So I honestly, Jen doesn't take any responsibility. Of course it is her. It's not one of her 15 assistants. If she has, we know what Stu does, we know his responsibilities. Assistant number 2 is like the driver. And then maybe assistant 3, 4, and 5 do Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I don't know what it is, but you're in charge of your social media. So that excuse was whatever. I found when Whitney and Lisa are more interesting than Jen and Brooks, it wasn't. I'm just glad it's done and resolved. So now I want to let's move on.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. I thought it was an interesting scene to have, especially because we've never seen a scene like this between a housewife and a housewife's child. I don't think we've ever seen that in the franchise. One
time, and it was Real Housewives of Orange County, and it was a sit down between Tamra Judge and Brianna, when Vicky Gunvalson and Tamra were at each other's throats, and Brianna was trying to mediate the situation. But no, you're right. We don't really get these.
Well, we'll move on because there are some other conversations that I want to get to, guys. If you're just joining us, of course, this is the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City weekly collaboration recap that we do with Up and Adam and Down with Jason. What did you guys think about Jenny's conversation with Whitney? Because remember, Jenny has been very much like Angie, longtime friends with Lisa Barlow. We know Lisa and Whitney are in a very weird place right now. They talk about that relationship, but they also talk about their what's the word? Pregnancy journey, or the lack thereof, a pregnancy journey. And it's interesting how opposite they are. Before Whitney, she would like to have more kids, but her husband had a vasectomy. And for Jenny, she doesn't want to have more kids, and she had her tubes tied.
I think that. Sorry. No. Go ahead, Jason. Sorry.
Oh, no. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that I have to applaud Jenny in this situation because she is friends with Lisa Barlow, but if she attaches herself only to Lisa Barlow, she won't have longevity on the show. And I like how she's trying to form these other relationships, knowing, that might be Lisa's experience with you, but I want to have my own experience. I think that shows a lot about who Jenny is. And these are vulnerable situations. You know, when she's sharing her pregnancy journeys and how many miscarriages she's had, it's really sad. And when she's having the conversation with Whitney and they can talk about these sort of hard journeys where, you know, my spouse wants kids, my spouse doesn't, I want kids, you don't. I think it is a conversation we don't see a whole lot on Housewives. And it's nice to, even though it's still sad, it's nice to get a different topic that maybe there are women out there who can relate to, as opposed to just a sobriety journey or an infidelity journey or an indictment journey. I don't know, but you know, like, just saying.
Jason, how did you feel about, first of all, their conversation? They talk a little bit about Whitney's relationship with Lisa, but of course Jenny's going to have Lisa's back because that's her friend. But
Absolutely.
this whole unpacking of their differing opinions when it comes to having more children. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, I remember the conversation with Jenny and her husband last time. It's dangerous for Jenny to have kids, I think, at this point. So I like to see the kind of contrasting, you know, differences between the women. But more importantly to me, this scene in general, I'm really liking how, you know, Whitney and Jenny are talking. I just feel like there's no, what did they call on Beverly Hills? Forced Friendship 5 or whatever.
Okay.
You know, you know, like there is none of that. I'm seeing kind of like an interweaving of like friendships. I'm glad it's not just like Lisa and Meredith anymore and Whitney and Heather. I'm glad to see like everyone kind of coming in. Now, did Whitney have a ulterior motive by going to have lunch with Jenny because she wants to know how to deal with Lisa, or is she trying to also wedge herself between Jenny and Lisa?
Oh my gosh.
That's what I'm really curious about.
I think it's the second.
Oh,
I do. I
hope it's the second for the rest of the season.
I mean, I think that Whitney, obviously, you know, Mary Cosby said this too. You obviously want some sort of validation from her. You're fighting with this woman for no reason. It's making you mad. You're stewing on it. Not stewing on it, but you're stewing on it. And it's keeping you frustrated. So it means something to you. And sometimes when you want to get under somebody's nerves and you can't get to them, you will go around to everyone else who's associated with them and make sure that you kind of mess with those different avenues of their life in order to get to them indirectly. And I think that that's what Whitney is doing here with Angie Harrington and Jenny Nguyen. Mind you, I love Whitney, but I can see right through this.
Wow. And now you guys
are stepping up.
She's stepping up. She understood the assignment. She's like, wait a minute, this girl's getting indicted for fraud. This one's running some sort of scheme out of her church. I got to bring something.
And she really is. She really is, because the first season I wasn't that in love with Whitney, but this season I'm loving her confessionals mostly because I do find them to be funny. But now that you guys are giving me this whole other perspective that she might be calculating and plotting this whole situation, I'm looking at her with the side eye. And what we get to see for next week, she confronts Lisa. I'm guessing the restaurant that you go to is the restaurant that was supposed to cater this Angie's party. That's what I'm assuming. What did you guys think from the preview?
Well, it looks like Whitney feels like, or Lisa feels like which one? One of them felt like they were ambushed. Was it Lisa?
Whitney
felt like she was ambushed. I don't know. Honestly, I can't even guess what this would be about. I'm interested, but I always feel like I know when we don't have enough information. And then I guess, and I look like an idiot because I'm like, oh, that's not what happened at all. I take that back. Sorry.
But I just had that feeling. But we will get there. I do want to talk, before we talk about the showdown between Lisa and Whitney at the end of this episode, we got to talk about Guys' Night. What did you guys think about Guys' Night? Are we getting the Real Housewives of New Jersey?
Well, I remember you did say that a little earlier. I thought it was very awkward and weird and almost uncomfortable to watch. I did. It's not. I feel like, you know, like you said, they are relying on the husbands. The Jersey husbands are freaking amazing. Beverly Hills, we love PK and Maurizio, especially this season. I don't really care for these husbands, to be honest. I'm not, you know, I like to see them maybe at the events together. I think Justin would probably be my favorite. But I felt that was a very forced scene.
Yeah.
Why was Justin your favorite?
Sorry?
Why is Justin your favorite?
He's just more in the conversation. Like when Lisa talks to John, John's like, yeah, and Lisa keeps going on about Whitney and he's like, he doesn't care. You know, where I feel like Justin is more involved. I don't know. Maybe it's the family dynamic, especially when they, you know, his sons were over, and I don't know. He's my favorite. I mean, what's
Adam.
Seth giving us?
I like Seth.
Seth is giving us Mary Cosby word. That's what I wrote in my notes.
Okay. I think the difference here is, and I see where production is trying to push the house husbands to be this sort of like New Jersey kind of dynamic, but there's a big difference here. And it's like a good analogy would be Vanderpump Rules worked because they were all friends and they all knew each other before they started filming. They didn't just take a bunch of cast members that knew nothing about each other. And these men don't really know a bunch about each other. They're getting to know each other. Whereas Jersey, they've all had relationships for a long time, way before filming. They're a close-knit, most of them Italian, kind of family dynamic where they laugh together, they cry together, they fight hard, they play hard. And they already have all of these different experiences together before filming ever started. So I think that's why we love them. I mean, mind you, Frank kissed Joe Gorga's ASS on the TV screen. You know what I mean? Like they're just a different kind of wild and crazy. They're a different kind of crazy. And I think they're trying to push this with Salt Lake City, but it's not the same thing. It's because they don't know each other. So I don't know why we're doing this.
Well, Seth isn't there half the time, right? Isn't he always away on his
Neither
business?
is Coach Shaw.
I was just saying Coach Shaw, same thing, always away. So, and there's not many of them. You know, we never see Whitney's husband, like barely, or not Whitney, I'm sorry, Mary's husband, especially this season. Heather doesn't have one. You know, so it's like the dynamic is just very different. I didn't really enjoy seeing them together.
They addressed this on Watch What Happens Live last night, though, too, because Andy Cohen asked Mary, will Robert Sr. be showing up during filming? And she was like, now we kind of figured out why he's staying in Florida, because he does not want to be around the filming process. She said that it was so hard for him to watch last season when Mary was called a grandpa effer, and then the reunion. And Andy was like, he looked like he didn't even want to be there at the reunion. She's like, he didn't. He doesn't want to be around filming. He doesn't want to be a part of that, which is kind of interesting to me because
he wasn't there. Wasn't he on camera? He was on video.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but he right.
I forgot about
like he was engaged in the reunion conversation, I guess. But you know, I think that he should be, if she is going to be on camera, he needs to be contractually obligated, or she should be contractually obligated to film with him, because we're taking away other people's full-time positions if they can't film with their kids. Well, their spouses are just as important.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how much more of the husbands we're going to get this season. But very much like you guys, it felt very awkward. It didn't feel natural. In New Jersey, these guys have known each other. At least a good majority of them have known each other for quite some time. So it just feels more fun.
Right.
It's going to be interesting because, you know, with New Jersey coming back, hopefully at the top of next year, they're adding some new guys to this man group that we have there. So it would be interesting to see how that dynamic shifts, if not, or gets better. But I didn't like Salt Lake City's house husbands. That was awkward at best. Let's talk
and their
about
discussion was awkward, you know, like that should have been a cut. That was an edit that was done wrong.
Yeah. Sorry, production. You got
I
bleeped it.
I know. Thank you for that. Can we talk about Lisa Barlow and Whitney's conversation? This conversation, although boring, I felt it was a boring conversation. There were some highlights where, and I've had this experience where people think we're friends and we're really not. According to Lisa, she thought that her and Whitney were friends, but Whitney's like, not so much. Jason, how did you feel about this conversation? Do you think that this kumbaya will last?
No, not at all. I mean, with Lisa thinking that they are friends, when you walk into someone's party and completely and blatantly just ignore them, you know, she does this all the time. Lisa does this all the time. I don't know if it's a lack of awareness, or maybe she thinks she is better than Whitney. And maybe that's why Whitney feels like she needs some kind of acceptance or validation from Lisa. And I've been in a position like that where I feel like I need someone's, you know, approval. So I want to be their friend. You know, you kind of like, and then you get over that at one point. And you don't really care. And you're like, why was I friends with that person? So I don't think it's going to last.
But do you think you would have felt that way at the same age as Whitney? Whitney's what, in her late 30s?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. I think she's my age.
I think she's 36.
I just feel as if that comes with maturity. Maybe she just hasn't reached that level of maturity that you don't need the acceptance of, of someone in your girl group. I think that was interesting, but it's not unusual. We see all kinds of women at different ages that are trying to fit in. Adam,
like
how did you feel
Kyle Richards?
Oh,
Okay.
Oh,
I just want to say really quick,
she needed LVP's acceptance for how many seasons?
That's true. So did Brandy.
But remember though, with Kyle, she lost her mother at a very young age. I think she looked at Lisa Vanderpump as a mother figure.
That could be true too.
Yeah. Or as a replacement for Kathy for a minute.
Good point. Adam?
I was going to say DD450 said, Adam, leave Mary alone. This doesn't sit well on you. I'm not going in on Mary. I'm talking about the things that Mary gives us to talk about. And unfortunately, DD, when you sign up for a reality TV show and you put all of your stuff out there, the good, bad, the ugly, and everything in between, and you have skeletons in your closet and they come out and you're running this allegedly fraud congregation, allegedly, and you're going out here maneuvering and you have family members coming forward. This is what I have to go off of. I don't actually know Mary Cosby, so this is why I'm speaking on it the way that I am. Okay, just getting to that. But then also, when it comes to Lisa Barlow and Whitney's situation, I don't feel like this is going to be an authentic friendship. I don't think Lisa Barlow wants to be friends with Whitney. I think she's just trying to get her off of her behind. She's like, go away. What do I need to do to make this go away? And that conversation was so inauthentic. Like, when she's like, I would picture us friends. No, you wouldn't. You've already talked about it in the last 3-4 episodes about how you're not friends and you don't know why it's so awkward. So now why all of a sudden are you saying that you're friends? Whitney's the only one who's actually being truthful here, and she's holding her accountable and holding her feet to the fire. I have to applaud Whitney in this situation, but I don't think it's going to have any longevity. These two are not meant to be friends. They're not the same kind of person. Whitney is a little bit more fun, younger, more vibrant, wild, and Lisa is more conservative, reserved.
But you heard how Lisa described herself. She's like, I'm a Sag. I like to do this and do that and be this way. And Whitney's like, I'm a Libra. I'm the same way. But I get that energy more from Whitney than I do from the Sagittarius that is Lisa. So I did find that interesting. I don't get why they don't get along. I don't know if it's an orchestrated beef, but it's not a very interesting beef at all.
No, it's not.
Especially to end the episode, and especially because people are so on the fence about Salt Lake City. But I have faith because this is their only second season. Potomac took a while before it got really, really good.
That's true too. But we need the Shaw rested moment. We need to get to it. Get us there. That's when the season's about to pick up, and that's when everybody's going to be like glued to the TV screen. That's what we need.
Yeah. Based on what
Kempire? Are you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, you said based on something and then you froze.
Oh, sorry guys. Look, apparently Wi-Fi in the Netherlands is not that great, or maybe it's just my Airbnb. Jason, I was asking you the question. I said, based on what we saw in the preview, what are you looking forward to mostly for next week?
Jason, you're muted.
Sorry. I don't know, because I don't know. With Salt Lake, it's weird. When they show us stuff, I think I'm going to be interested in it, and it's always something else. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm excited for next week. I want to see, what happens at the restaurant. I want to see if there's what happens with Lisa and Whitney. I'm more into that. It looks like Jen Shah is going to get a little bit of a break until she's arrested.
Okay. I have to piggyback off of what Jason's saying. I think that I'm probably most excited to see what this altercation is at the restaurant and who feels like they're being ambushed and for what reason. I want to know what is going on with that, but it's not why I'm watching. At this point, I need to see the buildup because I get it. Everybody's like, well, leave Jen Shah alone. But unfortunately, people, when they're watching reality TV, I've had comments in my chat. Trust me. They're like, leave Jen Shah alone. She hasn't been found guilty. And I'm like, I'm the one saying she hasn't been found guilty. Okay. But I still want to see it because unfortunately we're all watching just like we watched Beverly Hills because the viewers love to see how a scandal is going to play out because it's just so beyond. You would not think that this would even be happening. So now you're just like attached to the screen being like, how the heck did this happen? When did this start? So wait, this is all a lie, a sham, a fraud. What is going on? And we want answers. So I think that's going to be a big moment for us when we see this starting to unfold, and it's really going to start capturing the viewers in. And I hope that Bravo pick it up. Let's go. We need Shah rested. If it's not in the next 3 episodes, I'm about to cut you guys off.
But wait, here's the thing, and I said this multiple times when we talk about the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, is that, you know, Erica did carry the season with her storyline, but if we didn't have people like Sutton and Garcelle asking the right questions, then it could just fall flat. If people don't ask the right questions in Salt Lake City, which I have a feeling that they won't, maybe Meredith will and step up. I'll be so proud of her if she does. But do you think that might be a possibility?
I think Whitney's going to ask the right questions and start to get in there because we've seen in the trailer where she's vocal about it. She's like, guys, we can get in a lot of trouble here. Who called the feds? Which I think is the dumbest question, not calling Whitney dumb, but I think that's a dumb question because obviously the feds have been investigating this for a long time. And Jen Shah has already been to court before even filming Salt Lake City. So this wasn't anybody called the feds, but they're all having these tougher conversations. And we see Whitney Rose at, you know, the beginning of that conversation. I think she's really going to take this moment and jump in and get it moving, just like Sutton did. And I hope so. I would love to see that.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Zoe, thank you so much for the super chat. Zoe says this. I think Jenny's husband used wanting more kids as a sneak attack on asking the real question. Let's get a sister wife. I can't wait for next week. I mean, based on the preview, I always thought that was a joke. I'm interested to see that scene play out. What do you guys think?
Sister wife is not a Catholic thing. That's like it's not even a Mormon thing. It's a fundamental Latter-day Saints, which is like the other Mormons who like still practice polygamy and stuff. So the sister wife thing, I don't think that's real. I think that was a joke.
Okay, I hope.
I don't think Catholicism has changed in the past little while. I'm not sure that is a thing.
If Jason ever asked me for a sister wife,
we got a lot of questions. First off,
Mr. Sister Wife.
If he said, let's get a sister wife, oh my gosh, I would have everything packed. We'd be going off of the balcony over here on the second floor. Things would be happening.
You don't incriminate yourself.
I'm just saying. Ask me for a sister wife. Watch. Tell him to ask me. You want to see?
I don't need a sister wife.
I won't give you guys a show. I'll give you a whole Broadway musical. Watch. Don't ask me for a sister wife.
Guys, just because we don't really get an opportunity to talk about Potomac, can we just talk for the last 7 minutes about Potomac because it's a part of the big Sunday night Salt Lake City, and we never really get an opportunity besides our own little texting conversation, but not a full-fledged conversation about Potomac. So I'll start with Jason. What did you guys think of last night's episode, and what stood out to you most? Just because I thought of you guys as I was watching.
I mean, the Candace and Mia show was great. I love Sunday nights because I love watching Potomac and then going into Salt Lake City and then watch what happens live. Like it's kind of like a little roller coaster. Last night, Adam and I were talking about this earlier that, watching Chris calm Candace down so much, I feel like my perspective that I'm getting is they've had a conversation about how she lashes out before, and maybe Chris kind of didn't want her to go into the season kind of doing the same thing. I mean, the whole cast didn't, but it was interesting to watch him calm her down and talk to her. He had, I got rid of it, but he had a great line, don't let them see that you're affected so much, just like relax, rise above it, go back in, say, let's not talk about family, moms, and just move on. It's great advice. But then you see Chris later with Candace when they're at dinner, kind of like did you notice like kind of like grab her and kind of like hold her down, and I was like, this is weird. Yeah. Something is weird for me, but I think maybe it's his frustration. I mean, he was telling Dre later that he wishes it didn't always get like this. And I don't know if he was referring to all the women being around each other or Candace lashing out. And I really, really want to like Candace. I really do. It's just I'm not allowed. And every week I keep looking for something. And I guess I'll just stay not like.
Clarify you're not allowed.
Well, I mean, there's no. She puts herself in a corner, every week with the things she says and some of the heinous comments she says on and off camera about body shaming. It's just something I can't get over. I mean, some people like her and I understand because I'm almost there. I can't when those things come out of your mouth and they just don't stop, So when you have a whole cast getting sick of the things that you're doing, and that tells a lot.
Adam, what were your thoughts on last night's episode?
I have to agree to an extent. When it came to the Candace Mia showdown, I'm like, here we go again. And then watching Chris, I had to applaud him until we saw him awkwardly at the dinner table. I didn't like the way he was kind of like grabbing on her to like remove her from the table. That really put a bad taste in my mouth. But I get, like, you can tell they have this dynamic where sometimes, she might have the ability to pop off, and he is kind of that calming factor for her that really tries to kind of neutralize the situation. But watching her, I see what Jason's saying. I never thought I would applaud Chris for, trying to calm Candace down, but I see what Jason's saying. Candace is beautiful. She's talented. She has so many things going on with her music, her movies, her acting, reality TV. She's, still going to school. Her reads are the best. Her confessionals are amazing. And I really enjoy her on the show. And she's not the only one who gets messy. So you can't just say it's all Candace. But watching her and listening to Ashley Darby last night on Watch What Happens Live saying there's a common denominator here. How do you go in one episode, in one day, from fighting with Mia, and then you still have this energy, and now you're going to go back and forth with Ashley Darby and say that, her husband is an overseer and all of this. It's like you have so much going on for you. You already win. You have so much happening. Like, your success level, your trajectory could be like this, but then it's these moments of weakness where you're really like going in on other people. And mind you, she's not the only one, but I feel like she has a lot more to lose at this point because she's the one who's like really trying to branch out and expand on this career. You don't see the other women doing that. You don't see maybe Giselle Bryant, but Candace is really trying to like use this as a platform to break into the industry.
How dare you forget about LaDame? How dare you?
No, well, Karen Huger has a line and everything, but she carries herself very differently. Like, she has reads, she has good reads, and she has gone there sometimes, but she's not catching herself in physical altercations, which that sets her apart. None of the other women, except for Candace, Monique's not on the show anymore. And Mia did throw, lettuce back, but none of the other women who have been on the show are taking it to that next level. They read each other for filth, and then they decide to walk away, and they're like, you know what? Okay, that was the conflict. Let's find the resolution. But Candace, I don't know if she has the ability to find the resolution. She finds the conflict, and then she just is like, okay, well, that's it. I'm done with you. Let's keep it moving because we're done. We're good. I'm moving on. There's no resolution.
Yeah, I have to say really quick, sorry, Kempire. I've really enjoyed the season, though. It's been flying by, and every Sunday I'm really looking forward to watching it. So it's been a good season.
Somebody said Chris deleted his Twitter over this episode. Well, that means great news for me.
Here's the thing, and this is why I thought of you guys while watching, because obviously the interaction between you guys and Chris Bassett on social media. And one of the things that I liked about Chris when we were first introduced to him was the balance that he brought to Candace. And I kind of now, based on what I've seen of his behavior on social media, I kind of feel like it's a farce. I don't feel that it's authentic, and maybe it's only for cameras, because I unless she's the one behind his Twitter, his Twitter.
I mean, at this point, who's accountable for anybody's Twitter anymore?
Oh, right. It's their social media manager.
Yeah.
But I just don't know how authentic it might be. I think it might be just for the cameras so he can have that sort of persona. So I don't necessarily believe it, because if I didn't see the behavior on social media, then I probably would still feel the same way about Chris on the show, because I've always thought that about Chris. I was like, he brings a really nice balance to her, but he's not her father, and he shouldn't have to check her at these functions. She's an adult. And what we continuously see from Candace on the show is this very childlike immaturity, that it's not even just immaturity. It's just like bratty behavior. And it's becoming very, based on what I've seen a lot of people say, very hard to watch season after season.
Right. You know, I just watched where somebody said that, you know, it's so hard to watch my opinion on this because I feel like I'm so connected with Monique and stuff. And that's another thing is I'm not picking sides because of anything. I'm not picking sides at all. I'm just talking about what we're watching on the show. There's things that I can go around to each woman on the show of every single franchise and tell you things that I like about them and things that I don't like about them. There's no bias here because we don't actually know most of these women. Sure, some of them, yeah, but not most of them. And I think it's important to realize, like, everybody, we're going based off of what you're giving us. Nobody is forcing you, holding your feet to the fire, saying sign this contract and film and have these moments that we're all talking about, right? That are sparking these conversations, but yet they still are. And these are the conversations that are to be had. So
actions speak louder than words, and it's the consistent actions. I mean, if there's a common denominator, and Monique isn't there, so you can say anything you want about, like, well, he's Team Monique or this or that. Well, Monique isn't there, and Candace is still acting like that with someone else. So her actions speak way louder than words.
Speaking of action speaking louder than words, we have to talk a little bit about Gordon this episode because he was tipsy. But when he's tipsy, well, no, he was drunk. And he was flirting with Karen with his tongue this episode. And you have
gross.
Replaying it over and over again. Jason, you loved that moment?
I did not. I was uncomfortable for Karen. I've never seen like that wasn't even sexy what he was doing. What was he trying to do? Well, that's what he looked like. What is this? There's nothing like, what are you doing?
Karen is the victim of this. Karen is the victim here because this was, first of all, it's uncomfortable. It's uncalled for. He might have thought it was funny, but obviously in a sober state of mind, I don't think he would have thought that was funny because it's not. This is somebody's wife. And if somebody was doing this to your wife, like say one of the other husbands look at Mia and they're like, what do you, I mean, I wouldn't like that. And she's a woman and you are still a man and her husband is not here. She could be very uncomfortable. I like G.
She was.
Yeah, she was uncomfortable. I like G. I think, you know, Jason has said this before. Ashley Darby is kind of like a guy's girl where you can tell she gets down with them. She grabs a beer. She can, you know, shoot the, you know, with everybody and she's good. She can just joke with them and be like, okay, you're drunk, G. Whereas like some of the women are like, oh, you need to go get your husband because I'm here to play with the women. I am not here to deal with somebody else's husband.
Yeah, I couldn't do it personally. I felt for Karen in that moment, but we got a lot of really great moments from Karen this episode. She is a stellar housewife. And I like the fact that her and Giselle were getting along and laughing and talking about teabagging and all this other stuff in the Sprinter.
Isn't it nice to see them get along?
Yeah,
it is.
But I enjoy it.
Them not get along too. I like the balance.
True. They know what they're doing.
G was the drunk at the barbecue. God.
Lord. Guys, I appreciate you both taking the time out to do this recap here on the channel. Guys, this is a weekly recap that we do on all of our channels. Be sure to subscribe to everyone and follow them on their social media. Both Jason and Adam are located in the description of this video. But I always want to know what's coming up for you guys. I will start with Jason. What's coming up for you and what should people be on the lookout for?
Ooh, this week we have every week we have a really great weekly Royal Roundup. But do you know what I'm really enjoying? And I have to say this, I love our hot, messy topics. All right. I don't know if you're going to be there tonight, Kempire, but it's on Adam's channel. But I feel like
that is tonight, Kempire?
If this internet's working.
Oh, okay.
I'm really enjoying that. And I'm like, wait, I need to focus on my channel because I'm having so much fun on those hot, messy topics. But we do have a lot of great things coming up. It's really, in the next week and a half, I have a new show starting called Anchor Watch, which I'm going to do with a friend and a comedian. He used to write for David Letterman and perform with me in Cirque du Soleil. And I got him to start watching Below Deck. So we're going to do a quick Below Deck recap and we're going to see where it goes. But that's going to be a late show. So I'm really excited about that. But our weekly Royal Roundup is going to start building because we are now having big panelists and other Royal reviewers come on and join me and Femtero on the weekly Royal Roundup and kind of give us some different perspectives and more insight. So I'm really excited about that for this week. I am going to go live in about 45 minutes just to take callers and talk to everyone about Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And that's what's going on today.
Sounds good. Adam,
So come join me.
That busy schedule of yours.
So we have a few podcasts that we're doing this week. We'll be doing Ryan Bailey, and we also have another housewife interview this week, one of the housewives from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. So I'm excited about that. We'll be doing that on Friday. And then, of course, all of our normal recaps. And when stuff comes out, we all know, we're all jumping to cover it. So just kind of keep your eyes open. I feel like I started my channel and I was doing 2 videos a day. Now I feel like I'm doing like 8 to 10. And I'm like, ah! And Saturday I took a break and I had so much anxiety because I didn't post 1 video and I just had to put my phone away. And Jason loved it because he sees me and I'm like shaking, like somebody who like needs a fix. I'm like, and he always gets so mad at me. He's like, get off of your phone. We're at dinner. Get off your phone. We're at breakfast. Get off your phone. I'm like, get off your phone. He's like, I'm not on my phone. Okay.
When you walk and you trip because you're on your phone, you need to get off your phone. Like,
okay. I don't need a parent, Chris. Okay.
Okay, bye.
But what I did want to say though too is we started Hot Messy Topics about 2 weeks ago, and the conversation is building. It's so exciting. It's just an unfiltered conversation for subscribers only. So we do it only for that video, that live. We do a subscribers only live chat where if you want to get involved in the conversation, you have an unfiltered opinion. Listen, if you don't agree with me, come on, say it. I don't care. I can take it. I'll cry after. But I want you to rip me apart, read me for filth, do whatever you got to do. And I just want everyone to feel comfortable engaging in the conversation. So I'm loving it so much. And we usually cover 5 to 8 topics. Tonight we have a good lineup, especially because we all know, and we'll talk about it later, that Nicki Minaj, well, she had one main target for the Real Housewives of Potomac reunion, and she came hard for Candace Diller Bassett. So we have a lot to talk about tonight, and I invite everybody to come. Kempire, if your internet's working, please join us. We'll be there.
Most definitely. Guys, thank you so much for being here. And thank you to our audience that's watching, and shout out to our replay crew. Let us know your thoughts on some of the hot topics that we were covering in this recap of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City and a little bit of the Real Housewives of Potomac. And be sure to follow our guests, Up and Adam and Down with Jason. All of their socials and YouTubes are available in the description of this video. Thank you both for being here, and we will be back next week, same time, but we will be on, I think, Jason's channel.
It's always confusing.
Yeah.
Yes. If you're subscribed to all of us, though, you will never miss out. Turn on that notification bell. Thank you all for being here. I will see you guys later. Bye.
Bye, guys.